Before we talk about where we are, we must first remember from whence we came. Marty Schottenheimer brought winning football back to Kansas City and built what is now known as Chiefs Kingdom.
We transitioned from a team built on its defense in the 90s to one of the most dominant offenses and return men in NFL history, led by Dick Vermeil.
In 2012, a 2-14 Chiefs team displayed disastrous play on the field and turmoil off it. We asked to save our Chiefs, and in came Andy Reid, who immediately turned this franchise into a perennial playoff team.
Then, on April 27th, 2017, the Chiefs broke free from their journeyman quarterback restraints and drafted Patrick LeVon Mahomes.
In 6 years with Patrick at the helm, we're back-to-back champs and a dynasty headed towards a three-peat. We are unrelenting for this city, these players, and this team. This is the show for the allies. Arrowhead Allies.
Hey, they say there's a 24-hour rule, guys, when it comes to the National Football League. The Chiefs take down the Cincinnati Bengals on Sunday, and we're just 48 hours later, and we're already moving on. We're thinking about the Atlanta Falcons because that's going to be Sunday night's opponent in Atlanta on Sunday Night Football. And with that, we're going to bring on our guest this week. He's one of the members of the Falcons Ring of Honor. He's a former LSU Tiger, one of the great centers in league history. Todd McClure, he is the host of the Snack Back with T-Mac podcast, and he joins us now. And Todd, you got us? How's it going, my friend?
Yeah, man, I'm doing great. I appreciate y'all having me. Enjoy what y'all do.
Thank you so much, Todd. I mean, we can't thank you enough for coming on the show. You got 4 Chiefs fans here, so hopefully we make it feel like home for you. But I got to start off and kind of get your thoughts and breakdown of this Falcons-Chiefs game coming up, because just bear with me. I'm going to go through a little bit of history. Before Todd was ever in the NFL, the Chiefs were 4-0 against the Falcons. And then Todd got in the NFL. The Chiefs were 1-3 against the Falcons. He retired after 2012. The Chiefs are 2-0 again. So kind of
thanks, Todd.
This Todd here. How do the Falcons stand a chance to win unless you're going to come out of retirement for the Falcons on Sunday night? Because if they haven't won, they're going to have to make history. They haven't won without Todd McClure.
I'm hoping they can figure it out. I can tell y'all one of my worst memories ever was at Arrowhead Stadium. Priest Holmes was the running back.
Yeah, 56-0.
Yeah, you were quick with that one. Dude, I'm telling you, I can remember going in at halftime, and I forget what year it was.
04.
04, okay, so that was Jim Mora. Jim Mora was Junior was my head coach. We go in the locker room, and he's like, all right, guys, let's get out of this thing healthy. Let's get ready for next week. And that was the first time and the last time I'd ever heard a coach come in and say, all right, this game is pretty much over. But that game with I believe it was Will Shields. I've never in my life seen an offensive lineman get he was either AFC, I think he was the AFC player of the week, and because Will Shields was out there leading Priest Holmes on all those great runs. And that's one of my worst memories ever. But I truly loved coming and play in Arrowhead Stadium. It's just a unique place. And so there's my memory, my Chiefs memory for you.
Yeah, that was a different era because of the fact that, if I'm not mistaken, I think all 8 touchdowns in that game were rushing touchdowns too. Yeah. So it was definitely a different time. But good to talk to you here, brother. I'm the offensive line guy here on the show. I'm the one that really believes in planting your roots in the interior aspect of things in the NFL. That's where it all starts. And I wanted to kind of talk about your career for a second here, if that's all right with you, bro. Because the thing I always notice about your career, a lot like Will Shields, obviously, is the durability factor. It says right here, man, from 2002 to 2010, you didn't miss a single start. The durability factor was huge for why you were able to play damn near 200 career games, which is an amazing feat to accomplish at the NFL level, especially at your position. I look at guys like Creed Humphrey on the Chiefs, who's a very durable guy, looks like a guy that could very well be on his way to a career very similar to yours. I would love for you if you would maybe tap in a little bit into what it was, because obviously luck has to play a factor. You got to avoid the big injuries and things of that nature, but there also comes a lot of work with that too. Being able to keep your body in shape, and knowing that obviously you guys eat a lot of food and stuff to pack on the pounds and the weight, but you still got to stay healthy, man. You got to balance that. There's a balancing act for you guys. I would love it if you just kind of maybe tapped into that a little bit about how you were able to do the things you were able to do, man, and stay on the field as much as you were.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talked about it. Luck plays a big part in it. I tore my ACL my rookie year in training camp. I tackle blocked down, and I never saw it coming. Tore my ACL, but after that, I went on a little streak. Being lucky. Another thing, I think my mom prayed for me before every game. So that played a factor in it. But coming up, and not a lot of people know this, I played basketball. And coming up, I was a point guard. My dad played college basketball. I was a college basketball coach. And he taught us early on about seeing the court, and where that factors into, a center. I always knew where people were around me. I had that peripheral vision, and I knew when things were coming in. So I think that factored in a lot. And then another thing, guys used to mess with me all the time in the off season. I didn't do anything in the weight room. I completely took it off. I've got a farm, a ranch. I grew up working with my grandfather with cattle, so I did a lot of manual labor. Building fences, loading hay and things like that. So it gave my body a rest from the weight room, but it kept me working. And guys never could believe how I would come back in, not touching a weight. Until it was time to report and be in good shape. So I think it was a combination of those things. And then, like I said, I think luck played a big part in it.
Welcome to the show, Todd. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you being here with us. Todd, Andy Reid, throughout his entire coaching career going back to 1999 with the Philadelphia Eagles, he never started a rookie left tackle until last year when he was forced into start putting in Wanya Morris for a 5-game stretch. He was a 3rd-round draft pick. This year, the Chiefs drafted a 2nd-round draft pick at left tackle in Kingsley Suamataia. And he had a really good first game, but in his second game, he was pulled. With 5 minutes left in the game, he was pulled from the game, and the Chiefs inserted last year's 3rd-round pick, Wanya Morris. What would your advice be for Kingsley this week? Because that had to destroy his confidence. Or what can you tell us about our viewers, what he's going through and what he needs to learn?
That's really tough, that left tackle position. That's why the guys that are really good make a lot of money. Having success in that first game in the NFL, you build a resume and you put reps after reps on tape. And the more a defensive end or an outside linebacker has, he's able to build tendencies, the way you set, where your hands are, all those things. It gets harder the more film you put together, because guys that are students of the game are going to learn what you do and how you set and what your rhythm is. But for a young guy to start in the NFL and that offense, he's going to have some high points and he's going to have a lot of low points, but they'll all be learning points for him. And, I can say y'all got a pretty good guy at quarterback that knows when he's got to get the ball out and can help a young offensive lineman a lot.
Well, Todd, obviously last night was a huge come-from-behind victory for the Atlanta Falcons, and just talk about the importance of that win and building confidence, because week 1 was sort of an understated performance, losing to the Steelers at home. To be able to go on the road, and let's face it, that Monday Night Football, the whole broadcast was predicated towards the Eagles, and Jason Kelsey's on Monday Night Countdown, and the Philadelphia Eagles are at home, baby, and their Eagles are heading to 2-0, and this is going to be fun. And we're going to do Fly, Eagles, Fly. The Atlanta Falcons went in there and made a statement. So how big was that for the confidence? And now you've got the defending champs coming into Atlanta on Sunday Night Football.
Well, I'll tell you, it was really big for the Atlanta Falcons, particularly the way week 1 went. It wasn't the way anybody wanted it to go. The preseason, there was a lot of hype behind this Falcons team. And I'll tell you, TJ Watt is a guy, y'all know he's a pretty good football player. He changed that game for the Pittsburgh Steelers. We had a hard time blocking him, and he just threw off our rhythm. Another thing that and Kirk Cousins, you heard the talk about it. He wasn't happy with some things they were running out of the pistol, or so they went back under center a lot, and I think that really helped this Falcons offensive line. It really helped this Falcons offense because he was able to run that wide zone. And if you watched the game last night, the Falcons had a ton of success with that wide zone, and then it set up play action passes down the field. So for the Falcons to get that win before we have Coach Andy Reid and his crew coming in town is big, because if not, you're staring a possible 0-3 in the face, and then you're going to have the talk about Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins, and should they make the flip? So we needed that. We needed Kirk Cousins to do it in the way he did, and I'm excited about this matchup next Sunday night.
Yeah, Todd, I want to talk about two elements, whether it's be the Chiefs' offensive line. We talked about Kingsley Suamataia at left tackle there. It sounds like he's going to get his starting job back, just needed some time to kind of watch some things and learn and talk over his technique and what he's doing out there. So I know Matthew Judon usually lines up over right tackle. Do you think they'll probably swing him and give him a ton of reps against Kingsley as well? Him being their premier pass rusher. And then on the offensive side, for the Falcons, Kyle Pitts, the Chiefs have had trouble stopping tight ends the first 2 weeks of the season, whether it be an Isaiah Likely or the plethora of Bengals tight ends that they have. So talk about those two options, whether Kyle Pitts can take advantage of the Chiefs struggling against tight ends. And then if you think Matthew Judon will face Kingsley a lot.
You look, and I should have started this from the beginning. I'm Falcons through and through, but my side piece is a Kansas City Chiefs. So if I'm not watching, and I'm being serious, if I'm not watching the Falcons, I love everything Chiefs. I love Patrick Mahomes, the way he plays the game. I love Andy Reid, the way he schemes on offense. And, of course, the Kelsey brothers. I'm sure y'all have heard about them. It just everything about it. I love the way Pacheco runs, which I'm hate that he got hurt, but I'm glad he won't be playing next week against us. But what I'm getting at is I watched Chad Jones and the way y'all use him on that defensive line. He doesn't line up in the same spot every time. And I can tell you, when he lines up and you smell his breath over you, you get a little nervous as an offensive lineman, because he just can do so many things. And I think the Falcons will do the same type of thing with Judon. They'll move him around to create matchups, much like y'all do with Jones.
I'm really glad you just said that, because now I'm going to ask you a Chiefs question. When it comes to this matchup, because that obviously, the tight end position is a position, like Noah was just saying, that's going to be imperative in this game. And Kyle Pitts is a guy that's probably, I imagine trying to fight for that next contract. He's been a little underwhelming to this point, but he's finally got himself a legitimate quarterback. And so this could be a matchup that he becomes a favorable piece to the equation. But, I'm looking at this from the other side. The Chiefs have an offense that shows potential to be explosive. They don't have all their pieces out there. You mentioned Pacheco injured. Hollywood Brown's never gotten a chance yet in this offense. But they still have Rashee Rice, Travis Kelce, and other pieces that Patrick Mahomes can work with. Looking at this Falcons defense, I think it's very underrated. I think they've made some moves in these last couple of years, in particular this offseason, that has really shored up the secondary. And you saw the way Lou Anarumo, the DC of the Bengals, utilized, dropping everybody back and making Patrick beat them underneath. Do you imagine the Falcons are going to do the same type of exercise in this game, being in a dome? And Patrick's been so great in his career, 22 touchdowns to 3 interceptions in his career in a dome. Do you think he's going to do the same thing, or do you think that he's going to try to get some pressure on Patrick and make him make some quick decisions with the hobbled offense now without his star running back?
I'll answer, because I didn't answer it in the question before. Kyle Pitts. He's a guy that if this Falcons team wants to make a real good push, he's got to get going. He didn't get a lot of targets last night, but he was big in the running game. He blocked really well on the outside. So there's some things off of that wide zone that we ran, I think, with some possible bootlegs and things like that, where we can get Kyle Pitts going. We need to get Kyle Pitts going. You talked about the Falcons defense being underrated. I'll tell you, I was really impressed the past 2 games, the way we have played. Our defensive line is really strong. our secondary, which are our safeties, Simmons and Bates, are going to be huge this week against the Chiefs because, your guys, your big tight end, Kelsey, didn't have the game that, he didn't have a great game this past week.
Yeah.
So I would imagine they're going to try to get him going because, over the past few years, when Kelsey goes, the Chiefs go. So I imagine that's going to be a focus for you guys, but also we got some pretty good guys that they're going to put over him. I think one of the weaker spots on our defense, and I'm not saying they're weak, but if you had to point something out, would be our linebacking core. Our D-line's really good. Secondary is good. So there can be some matchups y'all could try to create with Kelsey one-on-one with a linebacker. But I'm telling you, I'm excited to see this matchup with the Falcons winning on Monday Night Football. It should create a little bit of buzz. The only thing I'm worried about every time in my career when the Chiefs came into town, when the Dallas Cowboys came into town, when the Pittsburgh Steelers came into town, there were times where y'all had more fans than we did in the Georgia Dome. So, it's sad, but Atlanta's kind of a transplant city. You get people from all over the country, and when you're playing those national brands, when you got to use silent count in your own stadium, which I've been there, it's not a good thing. And y'all have built a lot of buzz over the past few years.
Todd, when you looked at the contract, let's go back to last spring. When you looked at the contract Kirk Cousins received to go to Atlanta to come to be your new starting quarterback, were you shocked at all with your first round draft selection in April?
Yes. To answer your question, yes. I'll tell you, I loved when it first happened and I saw that we got Kirk Cousins. I texted a lot of people and I was really pumped. And a lot of people were like, but, he's hurt, he's injured. I love Kirk Cousins. If y'all watch the series where they followed him around for, his quarterback. I'm sure Mahomes was on it too.
Right.
So I'm sure you guys have watched it. Yeah. I fell in love with Kirk Cousins during that. The guy he is, the family man he is, the way he approaches his job, the game of football. So I was super pumped when we got him. Of course, hoping that he was going to be healthy, and it looks like he's getting there. He played really well. He's so precise with his passes. So when we drafted Penix, and I guess you got to look at it, if you're the general manager, you're the owner, knowing that you have an older quarterback that just had an Achilles injury, you need a backup plan. So, he's one snap away from, Penix going in or whoever, if we wouldn't have got Penix, whoever that would have been. Our quarterback play since Matt Ryan left to go to Indianapolis has been underwhelming. And I think, the front office saw that we needed to be strong in that position at our number one and our number two. And, and then it all worked out because they were able to get Judon in free agency. And they got that pass rush that everybody wanted them to go draft. I think they filled that spot with Judon.
Absolutely.
Well, Todd, we got you here. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk to you about a little LSU football, my friend. Of course, legendary Tiger from back in the 90s there. And LSU, a lot of people are talking, Brian Kelly is his act wearing thin down in Baton Rouge. LSU is such a brand name. You talk about 3 national championships from 3 different coaches here in the last 21 years now. So Nick Saban won it back, I guess, in 2003 to start this thing. But LSU is such a national power. What's the temperature of the LSU fan base? And what's your favorite Cajun dish on top of that?
I'll tell you, the fan base is on edge, I would say.
Yeah.
You go into South Carolina, and if you don't come away with that win, it gets pretty dicey here. But the college game has changed. As you guys know it, the NIL has changed the outlook of college football. And I think you see why Nick Saban got out. It's completely different, and it's not like it was before. So I know I'm beating a dead horse here, but teams are different every year. You don't have guys that grow up in the program and get better. So you're trying to fill in those pieces. Our defense hadn't been great at LSU over the past couple of years, and I think they're starting to get some of those pieces together. We did some good things on offense. We got a couple this week we got UCLA, and then I think we play South Alabama. But our true test is going to be when Lane Kiffin and the Ole Miss Rebels roll into town.
Mm.
That atmosphere will be electric that Saturday night, but we'll get a true measure of our LSU Tigers that night.
Absolutely. Real quick here, Todd, we'd be remiss if we didn't ask you for a good Tony Gonzalez story coming from Kansas City, going over to the Falcons. And then our Falcons fans excited about Taylor Swift, a possible appearance at Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Oh, come on now. All right, number one. And I'm going to go back to the other one. You asked about the Cajun dish.
Oh, yeah.
I love to cook. So that's right up my alley. You know, that's one of my hobbies. One of my passions is cooking. Crawfish etouffee, I guess, would be one of the favorites around, or a good jambalaya around here. We cooked one this past weekend. And then you go back to Taylor Swift. Yes. I'm going to answer yes. My daughter's a Swiftie. My wife is a Swiftie. We're actually going to the game. Our owner, Arthur Blank, is going into the Falcons Ring of Honor Sunday night. So myself, along with some of the other the Ring of Honor guys, are going to be there sitting in Arthur's suite and congratulating him on his Ring of Honor deal. So it couldn't happen better. My side piece, the Chiefs coming into town to play my Falcons. Really looking forward to it. And my wife said she's going to have binoculars to see if she can get a Tay-Tay sighting.
I love it. Then a good Tony Gonzalez story?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So Tony comes in, and you guys know it. He's he beats to a little bit different drum. The way he approaches a game, I've never seen anybody go out to practice, and sometimes you hear it, don't know if the media is building it up, but he would legit go out, and I don't know how many balls he would catch before practice, but it was a lot every day, all the time. And I guess my biggest thing with Tony, loved him as a teammate, unbelievable player, Hall of Famer, of course. But I sat on our plane rides. I can't remember if I sat right in front of Tony or he sat behind me, but he was real particular on what he liked to eat. You know, his diet, he was worried about his body. You know, and I felt bad every time, you know, they would come by with chocolates and all. I had to look and see if Tony was looking, because I'm going to grab 2 bags of peanuts, you know. We finally got him one day to taste Chick-fil-A chicken nuggets, and he was just, whatever, it's okay, you know. But he had that vegan, and he may still be the same, but we gave him a lot of heck for his diet, but loved him as a teammate, ultimate pro. Love seeing him on TV these days, but I'm glad our paths crossed.
Yeah, I think last time he was on TV, he had an ascot. He's getting fancy on us.
That's something. So, yeah, I mean, I know you guys hated losing him. We got him at the right time, and Matt Ryan was sure happy that Tony Gonzalez showed up in his life. I can tell you that.
It was for the best for Tony. So
at the time, certainly. Well, Todd, it's been such a pleasure, man. Before we let you go, we got 4 of us here. We're going to hit you with our fast 4 quick ones, 4 fun ones. You give us what comes to mind. I got a good one in mind, so I'm just going to roll mine out there.
I'm ready.
Favorite era of Falcon uniform: Deion Sanders era, your era with like Mike Vick and that era, or the current ones as we see them now?
You know, I got to go with my era, because I got, of course, I got drafted in '99. We still had the old logo with the silver pants and the black jerseys, which is a hit. All of our fans love them. And then we transitioned. I forget exactly what year it was, with the new logo.
02 maybe?
Yeah, that sounds about right. But my favorite uni is when we put on the red helmets with the Falcons. That's just, I love that look. The offensive linemen, we never looked good in white. So when we wore our red helmets, we always put on the black jerseys. And I love that look.
Shane, go ahead.
What is your favorite Bill Goldberg story?
Do you see him in the background? So I've got right up here, I've got a Goldberg autographed picture. But, you know, he would come around a little bit, and we got to go watch when they came into town to wrestle. And I don't know, first thing comes to mind is Roy D. Mercer. He was up there from your guys.
I remember that.
Old Goldberg, you know. I love Roy D. Mercer.
That's all fake anyway. It's all fake anyway, Goldberg.
Oh, wow.
That's great.
I love it.
Go ahead, Lance.
Who was your favorite pass rusher in your time? I'm sure you had a lot of rivals that you would go against. Who was your favorite pass rusher to knock on their ass?
I'll tell you, people ask me this all the time. Chris Jenkins. I don't know if y'all remember him. He played with
Oh, wow. Panthers. Yeah.
Carolina Panthers. He was, Chris was 6'6", probably 330 on a light day, and quick as a cat, so I had to be on my A game to block him. But a guy I love getting a shot on because he never shut his mouth was Warren Stout. He would line up in that 3 technique, and he never lined up on the nose, so I never had to go against him, man on man. But if he ever had ribs showing, I was coming to get some of them because he would never shut his mouth.
Well, Todd, other than the obvious, take us kind of behind the scenes of what it was like playing center for Michael Vick and then Matt Ryan. The obvious is, of course, Michael Vick's fast. You got to get out there. There's a lot of scrambling. There's a lot of getting downfield and blocking. Matt Ryan's going to stand in the pocket. But besides that, take us behind what it was like playing with Michael Vick and then Matt Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. When people that don't know me find out that I played for the Falcons, the first 3 things I get was, do you know Mike Vick? Do you know Matt Ryan? Did you play with Julio Jones? And yes. Mike Vick was something else. I think he changed the game the way the quarterback position is played today. I truly do. With a lot of that spread attack, Mike was unreal. He was an unbelievable athlete, and he could improvise with the best of them. And I think he'll admit this to you to this day. He didn't spend a lot of time in the playbook. There was a lot of times when we had check with me's at the line of scrimmage that I'm telling him what to check to and what to run because he just believed in his ability so much. And it got him so far, but I think if he could go back, he would do things a little bit different and learn the playbook a little bit better. And then Matt Ryan comes in. He's the ultimate pro. He was a guy, like I talked about earlier with Kirk Cousins, he valued his job. He valued playing the quarterback position. He was a student of the game. He did everything right. And 2 guys, 2 completely different styles, but both guys played a big part in my career and who I was as a player and allowing me to play for 14 years.
100%. Love that. Thank you so much for that, Todd. And people might be looking at your background there and being like, did he get that just for this Arrowhead Allies appearance? No, Todd has his own podcast. So he goes live at halftime of LSU games, and he's got some great interviews. We'll throw up a graphic here. He's had Matt Ryan on, and obviously halftime there of LSU games, taking you inside what he's seeing. The Snapback with T-Mac. Everywhere you can find your podcast. He's on YouTube, so just search it. And Todd, tell us a little bit more about what people can expect.
Yeah, the Snapback with T-Mac, we're trying to grow it a little bit. At half times at the LSU games, I have my youngest son comes on Madden, and we just kind of talk about football. We'll do a pregame, a halftime show, and if the outcome's good, we'll do a postgame show most of the time. Those postgame shows after a loss aren't fun at all. But I'm also at the same time we're interviewing ex-teammates, ex-guys that could be college, NFL guys that I was around. Next guest I'm hoping to get is a guy y'all may know of, Alan Faneca, was a Hall of Famer. Alan and I played together at LSU, so he's the next guy I'm gonna have on. But I just enjoy talking football. Football is my life, much like you guys. I love breaking it down. I love dissecting it. I love playing armchair quarterback. It's so much easier over here on this side. But I just love the game of football is my life. Atlanta Falcons, my side piece Chiefs, and I love hating the New Orleans Saints.
There you go. There it is.
We're on fire. What's going on?
Todd, it's been a pleasure.
McClure. Mad McClure is an awesome name, by the way. I just got to throw that in there. Mad McClure is a badass name, dude.
Thank you. Yeah, both my boys. But you try to get something catchy. My oldest son is Maverick McClure, Mad McClure. Names that stand out a little bit.
I bet that halftime show against South Carolina was a good one.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, I had to do by myself. He's got mono right now. He's a junior in high school, so chasing the girls around a little bit.
That's it.
But yeah, it was me by myself, and it wasn't too exciting.
Todd, can't thank you enough. Here's to a great win on Sunday Night Football. Let's enjoy it. The season's underway, and we can't wait. We'll have to have you back on, man, because this was awesome.
Oh, hey, I appreciate it. Anytime, you guys want to have me back on, love talking football.
Great.
I appreciate y'all reaching out.
Absolutely. We'll
Todd.
definitely do it again.
Have a good
Absolute
evening.
honor. Take care, my friend.
Thank y'all.
Cool dude. Cool dude.
Absolutely, man. Can't thank Todd enough for being gracious enough to spend some time with us, talking Falcons, breaking down the game, taking us behind the scenes, talking some old teams, old players. But guys, we got to get into this Bengals game because the scores didn't quite do it justice. So I had it a 10-point game. It's a 1-point game. They're always close. I should have known better, but man, Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelce, where were you? Lou Anarumo just knows how to play against the Chiefs, and Patrick Mahomes did not have a good one out there on Sunday.
Yeah,
Clint
and
nearly predicted it. Clint predicted and then he, at the very end, he went back, and I called him bipolar Clint. But damn it, Clint, I kept thinking before that game ended, Clint man knew something. Go ahead, buddy.
And you're right. Bipolarity is sort of what you are. And guys, look, there's a deeper issue here. We can take a look at this game and the Chiefs, beating the Bengals for a third straight time, and the importance of that, and the importance of starting 2-0 against the schedule that was so daunting to start the season. Bengals and Ravens, we know they could be right there. They're both 0-2 right now. You've basically got a 3-game lead on these two teams. But guys, there's a deeper issue here as a Chiefs fan, and it's something that really settled into me, into my soul on Sunday as Harrison Butker's kick went through the uprights as we knew it would. And this is a credit to the Kansas City Chiefs. This is the ultimate compliment. The hunger is gone from this fan base, from me, from my heart. What it merely is I am a crack addict that is being fed my daily bump just to get me by. It's about the relief of not losing, because in the last 2 to 3 seasons, dating back to 2022, probably, the losses are hurting worse than the wins feel good. I'm walking away with complete relief. I didn't run around screaming like a madman. I did in the Super Bowl. Don't get me wrong, but it's become a relief, merely my next fix to get to the next game. And that is a testament to the 3-time Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs, where you win this insane back and forth game against the Cincinnati Bengals, and you merely feel relief and you go, oh, thank goodness that wasn't a disastrous loss. And you kind of move on. Guys, am I wrong? Am I an outlier here?
No, your point. Go ahead, Lynn. Okay, what I was going to say is this. Well said, Clint. My point is this. We're here to break down games, and I know what you mean about how we feel, but I want to go back to what Justin Reed told us in July. He said the hardest thing last year was to repeat, because you're getting every team's best shot, because we were the world champions. Now the Chiefs are the 2-time world champions. And we just saw the Ravens and the Bengals, what they brought to us. My concern specifically about this game is, what's his name? Louis Amarillo? Louis
Anarumo.
Amarumo. Yes, the Bengals defensive coordinator, he wasn't afraid to put 2 safeties back and have the Chiefs just run the football. And when the Chiefs were down 3-0, we went on that long 15-play, 9.5-minute drive, got all the way down to 4th and goal to 1, and we settled for a field goal. Right then, I felt demoralized, because that's what the Bengals want. We want you to have the ball as long as you can and settle for a field goal. Now we're sitting there 3-3. That is what the Bengals want, and the Chiefs played into their hand. And Andy Reid, you can't tell me Andy Reid doesn't have a play to dial up on 4th and goal to 1. And in my opinion, we never really got over that. Yes, we had the long pass to Rashee Rice. Sweet. But Kelce had 1 catch for 5 yards. I'm concerned, and Harvey Williams and I talked about it in the post game about that, and I thought, well, maybe I'm just being too harsh, because we do our post game immediately after the show. I'll go back and watch the game again. I felt even worse watching it a second time. Nick Bolton's getting exposed by tight ends. Lance, that's my take. What do you have to say about this game?
Well, let me first of all address what Clint said, because Clint, I'm gonna tell you right now, bro, you are 100% on the money, and I'll tell you why you are, because you have inherited, or rather, you have adapted to the mentality of our quarterback here. I remember, and I always reference it, when I had Pat Senior on our show, the Spoken Podcast, on a couple of years ago, and I asked him this very specific question. I asked him, what matters more to Patrick, or what does winning feel better to him than losing hurts him? And he said no. Losing is something he cannot accept. Patrick is driven by not losing. He loves to win, obviously. That's, stacking Lombardis is the goal, but losing pisses this man off. And we have adapted this because, well, you guys know better than even I do, because some of you guys are older than me on the show. Losing was a part of our Chiefs history. Like, losing was just something that happened. We had to accept that we're not winning the Super Bowl this year. We're going to lose a lot of games this year. It's just a part of our DNA here right now, and it sucks, but we love this team. Now, losing is such a rare thing to occur, so it's such a rare occasion that it almost confuses you, because you're like, wait a second, we always come back. There's always a 10-point deficit, but we find a way. When they don't find a way, it sits and it bothers us the entire week, sometimes the entire season.
Yes.
We still talk about the Colts game of 2022. Like, that game still pisses me off.
Oh God, I was there.
Yeah, so there's so few of them in the Mahomes era that it sits with us, and you don't think that does the same thing to Patrick? That's why losing to this team would be something that he could not accept, because you guys remember when he got heel-toe tackled in Cincinnati the last time they lost to him, 27-24 in the regular season, that game that Justin Reed ran his mouth. Patrick Mahomes was F-bombing in the locker room, because he knows how much this game matters, because this is the last team to keep him from getting to the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. So this is a personal affair to him. And you saw him press in this game, making some really bad decisions, throwing right to that linebacker in a clean pocket. That's not like Patrick to do that. So this team, unfortunately, gets the Chiefs out of their character, which is where Shane is 100% correct. This is, for whatever reason, a matchup that the Chiefs just play sloppy football in, and it's credit to Lou Anarumo for the way he makes Patrick have to pace himself and run the ball and play old school football. It is a genius way to play him. Not everyone can do it, because not everyone has the dogs that Lou does or has the genius that Lou does, but you see it every single time these teams play. That is why every single time these teams play, it comes down to the final drive, and no matter who has the ball, that team usually wins. So yeah, man, it was a very frustrating win, but it is a win nevertheless, and we have to accept it, and they have to take notes and learn from this win, because it's better to learn from a win than an L, if we're being honest.
Absolutely. And something else that pisses Mahomes off, not just losses, but sloppy offense, like Lance was just talking about there. This is from Breakfast Ball on FS1. Mahomes' fewest passing yards of his career when he finished an entire game, 151. Kelsey, 1 catch. I mean, what are we doing here? Passing first down, 7, third down percentage, 12.5. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is going to come out like gangbusters in this Falcons game. And you talked about what the Bengals do. Everyone's saying, well, why doesn't everyone just play like that? Why doesn't everyone adopt the Bengals philosophy, what Lou Anarumo does? Like Lance said, you got to have the dogs. You got to have 4 guys, 4 down linemen that can win and win early and cause early pressure to unsettle things in the backfield for Mahomes. And then you got to have the back 7 that can lock on and stay with guys. And the Bengals have that in pieces. Cam Taylor-Britt got burnt by Rashee Rice, but then had a great interception against Xavier Worthy, who didn't quite stack him, get completely in front of Cam Taylor-Britt. He allowed Cam Taylor-Britt to stay on his hip, and so that allowed him to make that play, a beautiful one-handed interception, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, Patrick Mahomes, you hate seeing this over and over again against the Bengals. Lou Anarumo, hopefully if we see him again, he has something special for him dialed up, or maybe Andy Reid and Patrick can just stay patient and stay with the run game and not get too focused on, okay, we got these weapons. We love passing the ball. Let's get Mahomes' numbers and try to do too much in the passing game.
But guys, is it just me, or do you look at this and say it's almost impossible to concoct a scenario, say back in July or early August, that this team's 2-0 through the first 2, and we're sitting here going, I don't know. But we're kind of flirting with that line here. And Noah, you talked about, why are these numbers so low? Well, you turn the ball over 3 times and you rush for 100 yards on the ground, and that's going to add up to Patrick Mahomes having his worst passing day since week 7 of 2019. I think that all comes into play in addition to the Bengals game plan. But going forward, you've got to look at this Atlanta Falcons game as another one that we know what this is. We know where we're at now. There's nobody on this show, I don't think, is going to be picking 17 and 10-point wins anymore. You're going to have to win these games 24-20. That's where we're at. That's what this team is right now. Noah, you maybe.
I don't know. With some teams, maybe the Falcons, we might be able to get a nice 10-point win. I'm still mulling over my predictions.
No.
Sure.
Or Shane's potential playoff team, the Carolina Panthers, perhaps.
Right. Yeah, they're
Oh,
really
now with
living
Andy
up to
Dalton,
that.
maybe so.
I mean, I think the only way, though, we're looking at a double-digit victory on the road. And let me just say this, by the way. I actually love when the Chiefs are on the road. 'Cause
Me too.
For some reason,
Yes.
they seem to be more focused, more business-driven. At home, they like to show out and show off. It's just a weird thing at Arrowhead. I don't understand it, but that's just how it is. But I think the only way that happens in this game in particular is if they do force a couple early turnovers from Kirk Cousins, getting some pressure on him, strip sack, maybe a fumble recovery, an interception.
Don't mention interception.
Wouldn't that be amazing to see?
Doesn't happen.
It just doesn't happen for whatever reason. So no, that's the only way. But here's and it's exactly what Noah talked about with Todd about the tight end position, because that is something we have to start paying attention to, because the Chiefs linebackers are getting cooked right now, guys.
Yep.
And I said that after the Ravens game on this show and my show. I said, the rest of the NFL watched that game and said, Lamar Jackson with those weapons just cooked them. With their tight end, the rest of the league, where the tight end position is starting to evolve into a more like pass position, a catch position. The rest of the league's like, all right, we play the Chiefs, we got to do that. And so I have to imagine with Kyle Pitts and the desperation trying to get paid, Kirk Cousins, catching some momentum with his weapons. I have to imagine that's where the Falcons are going to try to attack the Chiefs early and often.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And Nick Bolton, there's so much bad film on Nick Bolton in 2 games. I don't remember in his first 2-3 years in the league that he was just down the field, not being able to cover guys. I mean, I like Nick Bolton closer to the line of scrimmage. I do not like him down the field on coverages, because he's just been getting burnt, as Lance said, and as we all know, by tight ends the first 2 games of the season.
Yeah, maybe part of that is rust and playing the preseason, dealing with this injury. So maybe coming back from that, getting his feet wet, maybe he gets better as the season goes on, as kind of the entire defense does under Steve Spagnuolo. They get better as the season wears on. Hopefully that's the same case for the individual of Nick Bolton. Let's talk about what happened at the end of this game, and just the penalty with Jamar Chase, thinking Trent McDuffie gave him a hip drop tackle when he just tackled him by his shoulders. The referee, Alex Kemp, said, "I'm not going to repeat to you what he said, but there was no interpretation with the language that he used, just abusive language." And then this is Dejon Anthony in the film room watching his pass interference. Did I do that?
That was pretty good.
Thank you.
And Lance, you talked about this last week with Solomon Wilcots, did you not? About there's just some weird aura around the Cincinnati Bengals. The way this behavior played out, I wound up seeing, having myself feeling sorry for Joe Burrow on the sidelines, who was looking very Kevin McAllister-ish down there as he's being left home for Christmas in New York City. And you talked about this last week, Lance, so I'm going to kick it to you, because there is an aura, there is just a sort of a vein of negativity that just sort of surrounds this. And Jamar Chase has been a powder keg ready to explode into Diva receiver land. Welcome, Jamar Chase, to Diva receiver land. You're the next Antonio Brown. Congratulations.
Bad vibes. This is what I told Solomon, and I stood by it. I know he cooked me, and I understood it. He's a former player, longtime analyst. I get it. But I was right. It's bad vibes all the way around in Cincinnati, man. You can tell the body language, the way this team's playing right now. I know everyone's like, oh, they'll be fine. They do this every year. This isn't the same Bengals, guys. And this is what I was trying to say to Solomon. This is what I said on Saturday on our show. This is why I was confident the Chiefs are going to win this game, even if it ended up being a sloppy, gross game that it ended up becoming. The Chiefs are a team that are focused on the right things. They're not having all these contract issues with guys that are key players. You're not having these weird interviews in the locker room where, Jamar Chase is threatening old teammates at LSU and talking about his contract and taking out life insurance policies. We're talking about a team that is driven and focused on three-peating, whereas the Bengals are a team that are living under so much pressure because they haven't won like the Chiefs have. And we know that year 5, like I always bring this up, history is a part of this game for a reason. 5 years in with the same head coach and quarterback duo, if you don't win your Super Bowl within that time, you never do. No one's ever done it after year 5. And this is the 5th year with Burrow and Zach Taylor. And I'm telling you, this team feels the pressure. I'm not saying they're looking at that going, all right, It's the 5th year. We got to do it now. But you know the way that the NFL, where there's constant movement on your constant rotation and influx with your rosters, and guys get older, guys leave. T. Higgins is hurt. Tyler Boyd's gone. Your defense isn't as great as it once was. Joe Burrow's hurt. Jamar Chase is pissed. Is he going to stay? Is he going to go? What's going to go on? There's so much around this team that's not focused on who's our next opponent. How do we beat them? They're so lucky they have Lou Anarumo, because if they didn't, they would have gotten destroyed in this game, even if the Chiefs did have those 3 turnovers. Like, it was that bad. You could tell from the offense side that Jamar Chase isn't focused on winning games. He says he hates losing, but I think he hates the fact that he isn't getting the money he thinks he deserves with 2 years left on his deal. And Joe Burrow and him, although are great friends, you could tell Joe's sick of it as well. And Joe's got his own body language problems to deal with. So it's so bad in Bingo Land. They're sitting here still talking about penalties that were legit. Saying that it's rigged when it's a legit penalty. Flip the tables, and you know they're saying the same thing we are about a penalty that was legit, because the Chiefs had a penalty that was on the previous play on a 4th and 6 that Patrick converted on. So you can't say that, oh, we got screwed, when the Chiefs just had to make up for it. The 10 yards back, and they still try to go for it, and they get a legit penalty. It's how it goes, guys. I hate that games go down that route, because everyone comes with this narrative, oh, the Chiefs are getting all the calls. But if you actually watch the game with your eyeballs, you'll see that the Chiefs got plenty of bad calls. The Trent McDuffie pass interference, that wasn't on Trent McDuffie, son. That was on Jamar Chase pulling down Trent McDuffie. That should have had assault charges attached to it. But the way I look at it is, again, this team has bad vibes. They're down 0-2. Everyone thinks it's going to be okay because their schedule. They lost to the Patriots at home. So we can't sit here and just assume any wins they're going to have down this slate that they have, even though it is a lot of winnable games. How do we know this team's going to be focused down the stretch when their Super Bowl was just lost this week?
Us getting the calls, I disagree. What about MBS last year at Sunday Night Football when Noah and Clint were in Green Bay? When that was pass interference all over the place. We were just sitting there waiting for the flag. It wasn't called. So I don't like this. People saying the Chiefs get all the calls. My foot. I'll keep it PG. I'll keep it PG. But you know,
you're right, Shane. But it's because do we know if the Panthers or the Steelers or the New York Giants get any calls? No, because their games aren't on national television. They're not in the public eye. They're not in the spotlight. These Chiefs games come down to the end. And what does America want to see? There was 28 million viewers, the biggest number that CBS had in this slot since 1998. And what did probably 3/4 of those viewers want to see, Shane? They wanted to see an upset. The Chiefs don't complete it this time. The Bengals win. The Chiefs lose at home. So you're right. That's what they wanted to see, right?
And I love it. And I love it. Yes, it was an ugly win. And yes, we go back and we dissect it, because that's what we do here. We can't just say, oh, well, it was an ugly win. On to the next game. We will get to the next game. But it's our job here to break it down. And the question I want to have for you to Noah and Clint, because you've watched, and I brought this up, Nick Bolton. Was Nick Bolton a liability in coverage with the MU Tigers? How was he?
That's a tough question. He was not asked to do it as much. Missouri plays more of like a 3-3-5 at the college level, which is just a different usage. I mean, Nick Bolton, like you said, was up on the line of scrimmage. He did have what was considered like one of the highlight plays of his career, was this hit he had on Juwan Jennings of the Tennessee Volunteers, now the San Francisco 49ers, where he came up and nearly caused a safety on a slant. So he clearly was in coverage on that play, and he snuffed it out and did a great job. He was just what Nick has always been to me, is the most instinctual player that I've ever seen at the University of Missouri is at that position. And so what the Chiefs were getting was an instinctual player that, when, put in the correct place, is going to make plays for you. We saw it in 2022, flipping Super Bowl 57 on his head, taking a Jalen Hurts fumble to the house when the Chiefs were about to go down 14 points, or at least 10. And so, Noah, I think you would agree that whatever the case, maybe it's the loss of Willie Gay that's exposing this a little more. And I thought that Drew Tranquill had a rough outing as well on Sunday. So is Leo Chenal this team's best linebacker? I don't know right now.
I don't know. I haven't liked him in coverage coming into this season, but he's improving and showing me more this season than he has, at least in the coverage. I always knew he could play the run. I always knew he could come off the edge and get after the quarterback. My questions were in coverage, but he seems to be the best linebacker in coverage out of Drew and Nick, which I didn't see coming. But coming into Clint talked about at Mizzou, coming into the draft process, I know Nick Bolton, everyone was talking that he was going to be a liability in coverage. That was his thing. He's a thumper. He's downhill. He can attack in the run game. but in coverage that he was going to be a liability. And going back to Lance's thing on the vibes, Solomon Wilcott's one thing he did get right is Andre Yoshivas.
Man,
Oh
did.
my
Their
goodness.
receiver, he said, watch out for him, and he came up big. But specifically on the vibes, there was a time when Joe Burrow touched Jamar Chase. I think it was after the penalty. He was trying to calm him down, and Jamar knocked his arm off him, saying, like, get off me. And so that's the vibes that Lance is talking about that I think we all noticed before this game when we brought up to Solomon, and he didn't really want to hear it and thinks that everything's going to be hunky-dory there, which it might be if T. Higgins comes back and Lou Anaromo can come up with great defensive schemes for all these other teams coming up and Andy Dalton coming up. But we've got this here, Kingsley Suamataia. They gave me the challenge to be the left tackle of this team, and I need to take it upon myself even harder. None of that should have happened in the first place. Bad technique in those reps, definitely stuff I can work on. As he kind of got a welcome to the NFL session from Trey Hendrickson, and I've got a little mic drop there from Donovan Smith. I thought the Chiefs should have him, even if he doesn't start, to have him on standby. If they do have to pull him instead of going to Wanye Morris, another unproven guy that Kingsley beat out, they'd have a veteran to go there. So I was told we want all these offensive linemen so Patrick doesn't get killed back there, and he was about to get killed back there via Kingsley. So I wanted Donovan Smith for some insurance. Lance, I know you've got some takes on this already working, so go for it.
Yeah. So, you guys know that I'm the Kingsley guy on this show, and I'll be the first to admit that Kingsley played terrible in week 2. He got absolutely obliterated by Trey Hendrickson. And you guys remember when we talked to Solomon Wilcott's last week, the first thing I mentioned him when I came to this matchup, and what I said to be the one thing that could get the Bengals a victory on this week is Trey Hendrickson showing a rookie how it's done. And that is exactly what Trey Hendrickson did. And so I give credit to Trey Hendrickson, and I say that Kingsley had a hard lesson to learn in this one. And yes, the Chiefs did pull him. And Shaggy, I know you referenced earlier that maybe that shoots his confidence a little bit. You know, I actually kind of look at it a little bit differently because I think Andy Reid, being a guy who understands the offensive line so well, being a former player himself at guard and coaching it for so long, I think he did that to get him refocused for the rest of the season, because this team clearly believes in Kingsley. They gave him the upper hand throughout training camp, preseason. It never really felt like there was much competition. I have to believe this team would have done something a little different, like, say, bring Donovan Smith in, a veteran they trust and like and have won with, if they didn't think Kingsley was going to be a guy that was going to grow through the pain. And I think that you're seeing Kingsley right now in the pain. He's in the time right now, because let's give Kingsley some credit here, okay, guys? His first 2 games and who he faced is about as tough as it gets for a left tackle in the early stages of their career, no matter who you are. So he went through fire these first 2 weeks, because if we saw these defenses over the last 3 years, we know Ravens and Bengals like to get after quarterbacks. So this was a tough test. I don't think he played great, but I have not wavered one iota on Kingsley Suamataia. I truly do believe this is the left tackle for this season and for the seasons to come, because of the galvanization that is going to come through these hard lessons. We saw, and I know it's a different position, but a couple of years ago when Joshua Williams and Jalen Watson came into this league, and they were playing important minutes as rookies. Remember the historics of how the Chiefs played all these rookies on the defensive side, and we saw Spags lining up Joshua Williams one-on-one with Steph Diggs in big games early in the season, and I was getting pissed off because it cost the Chiefs a game when Steph blew right by him and scored a touchdown that was the deciding factor of the game. And I went on other shows and I was all pissed off, and I had people telling me, Lance, this is how you galvanize young players. I heard this from former players. My buddy Jason Dunn told me this. And this is how you galvanize young players. And what happened later that year? The Chiefs had these same guys in those same positions, and they succeeded. They picked Joe Burrow off twice in the AFC Championship. Josh Williams was one of them. He galvanized from that situation. So I am going to give the faith that Kingsley Suamataia, under the tutelage of Andy Heck and Andy Reid, is going to get this down now. It's going to suck right now. We're all focusing on him like, damn, man, he doesn't look good. By the time we are in the postseason, these are not things that we're going to be worried about, because Kingsley's going to grow from it. He's going to develop quicker than a lot of people anticipate, maybe even myself included, because I got high hopes, but I knew there was going to be growing pains, and I do truly believe by the time the games really matter the most, Kingsley's going to rise to the occasion.
Let's hope.
Lance, good point. You know, I said on our prediction show, and I know Noah and Clint hate it. I know Clint's probably going to cut off my mic right about now. But we got to be patient with growing at left tackle, a rookie. Bill Moss and John Alt were our 2 number 1 draft picks in 1984. John Alt didn't play right away. Then years and years went by, but John Alt, once he started playing, he was there for a long term. But Matt Herkenhoff had to play in front of John Alt for a while, and I'm not going to go through John Tate and everybody else we went through. This is paramount that Kingsley gets this down and Andy Reid trusts him, because you don't want to keep yo-yoing him. If you had a chance to talk, check out our show with Harvey Williams. He says what that does to the confidence of a left tackle if he's constantly getting in and out. So you hope that Kingsley can learn from this. But I will stick to what I said on my prediction show. We got to be patient with that kid.
Fair enough. And it will be a work in progress. And I am one of those people that look down the road and I start thinking about positions for next year, which is ridiculous to do. We're not going to get into the weeds on that, but it's like, oh, what if you don't re-sign Creed Humphrey or Trey? What if you let Joe Tooney walk away? What if Juwan Taylor, this $80 million mess, really that he is, what is this line going to look like going forward? You would like to see some solidification, that Kingsley's able to play into it and this line becomes solidified, but there's no guarantees of that. And we may be putting together more pieces next year. And maybe if we're really lucky, we could draft like our guy Alex the intern wants an interior lineman from Ohio State at pick 32 in this draft coming up. Let me hear ya.
Oh, well, you're hearing from DDT right now. He said, we coming for you.
Yeah, baby.
The Ravens, they got their Super Bowl and they won another Super Bowl this year, 2 in 1 year. If they can
Jeremy
beat the
Lawson,
Chiefs.
is that you?
Chiefs pay the refs.
Okay.
So expect nothing less from a Raiders fan in here, but we love DDT. Thanks for tuning in, my friend. But we got to get to the big news of the day.
Bring it. Yeah.
Reunited and it feels
so good.
Oh man, we have been calling for it. I know Lance has been calling for it, and we finally get our wish. Tyreek's happy to see it, and I always love anytime Tyreek can chime in. That's my guy. My Green back in KC. I love it. If only Tyreek was here as well. But Pacheco going to be out 6 to 8 weeks with a fractured fibula, and so in comes our man. He's on the practice squad right now. Got to get in condition. Got to get back in shape. He's been off a long time, but. Man, Kareem Hunt is back. Lance, I'll go to you first, and then Clint. Let's celebrate.
Yeah.
Well, let me first say that yes, this has been a long time coming. I never gave up hope. There was a lot of people who said, "Lance, give it up. Kareem's never coming back. The Chiefs are done with them. This and this, all these excuses." And I never gave up because I knew how much sense he made for this team, and I will forever die on the hill that if he would have stayed here this entire time, I do believe production-wise he would be the best running back in Chiefs history.
Yes.
We saw 11 games in 2018 with Patrick Mahomes as his quarterback. He had over 1,200 total yards and 14 freaking touchdowns. This dude was an absolute animal in this offense. I still believe it was Bill Belichick that gave the TMZ the video because he didn't want to face that guy again because of what he did to them on national television. I will forever die on that hill. But what I will say about that, I'm gonna be the sobering guy here real quick, and maybe you guys have some thoughts on this take, but I kind of alluded to Shaggy about this earlier today when we got the news. But I got to call the Chiefs out on this. I'm very happy that he's back. But see, you go back to the beginning of this whole situation, and the reason that the Chiefs cut Kareem Hunt in the beginning wasn't because of what was in the video. It was because he lied to them.
Yep.
So it was a moral standpoint that the Chiefs took. And they said, we understand you can continue to play football, but you're not going to play with us. And for years, that has been the excuse that everyone has used against me and other people like you guys that have wanted him to come back because we knew how good he was. But everybody said, nope, Chiefs, they stand on higher ground than that. They won't allow that to come back. And now Isaiah Pacheco is hurt. And now all of a sudden, morals don't seem to really matter. Because now at 29 years old... Now, that's my question, because here we are now when it's a desperate need. All of a sudden, it's okay to bring the guy back that you cut for lying. So I find it kind of mesmerizing to me, and honestly, kind of sad because that means that all along he could have played his part in this offense. He could have
Right.
played a part of this dynasty, but you guys chose to hold the moral ground until moral grounds don't really matter. I just find that very contradicting, very hypocritical. I'm happy he's back, but it's very bittersweet because we lost 6 years of a guy that should have been here all along. You could have suspended him if you said, hey, this lie matters to us. We don't like that you lie to us. You're suspended. We're not cutting you. We're suspending you. And you could have kept going with this guy on your team because you brought him back anyway. To me, it just does not make any sense at all how the Chiefs handled this over a 6-year stretch. But maybe that's just me.
No, Lance, the court of public opinion wanted blood immediately when that video came out and the Chiefs were made fools of. He lied. We've all been in relationships. Who gives a crap about lying? You've got Rashee Rice at 126 miles an hour on the highway. He's playing football this Sunday. The Chiefs seem to pick and choose when this matters. And I'll tell you this much, dating back to the Super Bowl weekend of 2022, that was the Rams and Bengals Super Bowl where we were in that picture with Kareem Hunt. We talked to him and we said, Kareem, we want you back at Kansas City. We need you back at Kansas City. And he said, absolutely. He wants to be here. That was 2.5 seasons ago. Like you said, Lance, this should have happened a long time ago. He was signing 1-year deals. He was never the featured guy in Cleveland because of the success Nick Chubb was having. So my question, Noah, I guess I'll go to you here because at 29, the same age as our budding backup Samaje Perine, is it too little too late for the high-level production that we're going to need from Kareem, the Dream?
Well, I mean, I think you're going to get better than you would if you just went to Perine and Steele or one of those guys or running back by committee. I don't think you're getting the same player, obviously. He's dealt with some injuries. He's been behind Chubb, but so I don't think he's just going to step right in and be the same old Kareem Hunt he was. But I do think you're going to see an elevated mix of the running back in the passing game and a running back that could be there all 3 downs, your first down, your second down. He can line up wide and play a receiver role. I mean, this guy can really do it all, and he still has enough in the tank being behind Nick Chubb and not taking the punishment of a feature back all those years that he's still got enough in the tank. He's not going to be the same old Kareem Hunt, but he's going to be better than what we have. And just to go back on this moral issue for the Chiefs, that is bullshit.
Whoa!
My mom's watching.
Woo, baby.
Oh, Noah!
Yeah.
That is
Team
bullshit.
team
I said it from day
True.
one. It's because a young kid that came in this league lied to Clark Hunt's face, and Clark Hunt wasn't going to put up with it. That's the only reason he's gone. The Chiefs brought in Damon Arnett, who from the Raiders when they cut him. And why did the Raiders cut him? The Raiders cut him because he's waving AK-47s into a phone, screaming at a fan saying, come meet me. Come meet me. And we will deal with this like men, waving guns around. And the Chiefs say, you know what? I want you. You former first-round pick, Brett Veach said, you have talent. Come to my community in Kansas City. Come to Chiefs Kingdom. Wave those guns around because we need talent at corner. But we can't bring Kareem Hunt here. I am sorry. That is bullshit. They're doing it because they're stuck. They're between a rock and a hard place, and they're finally swallowing their pride and bringing him back. And it's all because of Clark Hunt not letting a young kid lie to his face. That's the only reason he was gone.
Go
Amen.
Nitro.
Preach it.
You
Go
can't go-
Nitro.
There's nowhere to go from there. That was so perfect. I mean, Noah, you
Nitro.
nailed it, buddy. I
That's
bow
right.
down.
Question on TikTok. As a
PG-13
Pacheco fantasy
now.
owner, guys, which running back am I picking up in fantasy? I would say Kareem Hunt. If you're going after running back to fill in for Pacheco, I think he's
Well,
your man.
I want to say, epic, Noah. Thank you for bringing the show to PG-13.
Epic.
Everybody keeping it real. People ask, hey, Shane, what do you like best about Starcade Media? The real. And they showed it tonight. But let's look ahead, okay? Let's look ahead right now. I have, from a reliable source, know that the Chiefs called Kareem Hunt Sunday night, and I'm willing to stick with that. So this was in motion before Monday. So we're here now. Let's look ahead. How long will he have to be on the practice squad until he comes in? Do you think he'll play against the Falcons, or do you think they'll wait till the Chargers week 4?
1 week.
Yeah, Chargers game. They're going to get him ready, get him in the playbook, and just get him conditioned.
Get him a new number. Will it be 0?
Yeah, there's not a lot of good numbers available. 45.
26
Is he
or
Rudy out
29?
there? Michael Jordan when he came back.
26 or 29, I'm guessing.
0.
Let me ask you a real quick question on this, guys, before we have to move on, because I know we have to. But who would you say has been the best veteran, reliable running back the Chiefs had over the last 3 years?
The last 3.
Jarek McKinnon.
Jarrett McKinnon is sitting there.
How old was Jerick McKinnon when he came to the Chiefs?
About your age. Now he's about our age, Lance. So we got some issues.
He was 20. He was 29 years old when he came to the Chiefs in 2021.
You're right.
And who's been? Let's be real. Who's the better overall player in their career, Jerick McKinnon or Kareem Hunt? Because we both know, we all four know, that Jerick McKinnon, before he came to Kansas City, was an injury-prone player that was a journeyman, a failed experiment in a lot of places, and then he shined in this offense because he got an opportunity to catch passes on the dump-off screens and create plays with his feet. Kareem Hunt is a absolute, Noah just alluded to it. He is so good at lining up as a receiver, as a 3-down back, bigger, stronger, more physical back than Jerick McKinnon could have ever dreamed of. And you saw how productive Jerick was in regular season and postseason games. I'm telling you right now, guys, I'm not trying to hype it up too much, but I agree with Noah 100% that there is plenty left in the tank because he was not getting shredded in Cleveland and with all the usage. That was Nick Chubb. He was getting the majority of those carries, guys. He was the one that was getting all the bulk. You look at Kareem Hunt, he's as fresh as it gets, guys, when it comes to whatever he has left in the tank. And I think that he's going to, the motivation of being back in Kansas City, because you remember that heartbreaking video we saw when he got pulled over in Cleveland after he was released by the Chiefs. He's like, man, I should be playing in the Super Bowl right now. He's talking to that cop, and that cop's like empathizing with him. You know, all these years, Kareem's been waiting for this opportunity again. You know he's wanted. He's been waiting to get his second chance. He's got it. So even though he's older now, I do believe whatever he has left in the tank, he is going to utilize to the absolute extent of his abilities. And I think the best version of Kareem Hunt that's left is the best version we're going to get.
I'm trying not to be, I'm not ageist about this, guys. We just watched Mike Gesicki, who was catching touchdowns to send the Chiefs to the 2 seed back in 2019, shredding the Chiefs secondary for, helping the Bengals tight ends receive for over 100 yards. So I will pull my ageism bias here. We're on the right side of 30. So, and Samaje Perine's right there too. And I think guys that just don't, we saw Jerick McKinnon play into his early 30s with great effectiveness. So I'm ready for it. We're all ready for it. I say, bring on Kareem, the dream. And now it's time to talk Chiefs Falcons Sunday night. Of course, the Chiefs win by 3. Goodbye. We will see you next week.
What's your score, Clint?
I don't know. 24-21. Just that's my score for the rest of the season. If the Chiefs win every game and it goes 17-0, 24-21.
Go ahead, Lance.
Yeah, the Chiefs have left a lot of meat on the bone the last 2 weeks in a row, and they still managed to score 26 and 27 points. I think in a dome, Patrick Mahomes is going to score 30 finally this season, and I do believe the Falcons are one of the few, and you guys know, I've kept track of the stat forever. Spagnuolo has not, he's 38 of their last 39 games. They've allowed 30 points one time. This is going to be the game where it gets really close because I do think the Falcons are going to do what I said, utilize the tight end position. But Bijan Robinson, an absolute animal. I think this is a 34-28 kind of game. It's a higher scoring game than people are expecting, but the Chiefs do win this game, and I think Patrick Mahomes goes the hell off in this one.
I hope so.
Shane?
I'm going to say the Chiefs win 34-30. They get they score a touchdown pass from Patrick Mahomes to Travis Kelce with 27 seconds left, putting them on top to win 34-30. And tune in immediately or about 15 minutes after the game at probably about 11:15 or 11:20 to Starcade Media, exclusively on Starcade. War Chant wrap up with Shaggy, Shane, and Harvey, and we will break down Chiefs Falcons. We'll talk about this great victory. Yes.
Stay up late. Stay up late.
Stay up late. Yes. It's just like the Thursday night when you stayed up until midnight with us. It'll be a good time. We'll break it down. What you got, Noah G. Nitro?
Oh, man. Patrick Mahomes is kind of personal kryptonite, plays for the Falcons, and Justin Simmons. He has the most interceptions against Patrick Mahomes of anyone.
Uh-oh.
And they signed him recently, right before the season. So they got Matthew Judon, who can create problems on that defensive line for the Chiefs. They've got Justin Simmons, Patrick Mahomes' kryptonite back there. He's already got 3 interceptions. Will it be more? I think this is a close one. I think 24-19, the Chiefs get a 5-point victory, kind of a weird score. A lot of Young Wei Koo, if you're not familiar with that name.
Wow.
So, but the Chiefs do get the dub, but we're still kind of left wanting more out of this offense, and maybe they get it the next week against the Chargers with Kareem Hunt back in the fold.
There you go. Who's going to be our running backs? Steele and Samaje,
yeah. That's
Samaje, is that it?
Yep.
With just 2 running backs we can get by this weekend.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right.
They'll use Xavier Worthy and McCole Hardman on jet sweeps. They'll find a way to manufacture run plays.
Okay. You're
All
the
right, with
first.
we are out of here. Well, man, this has been a great show. We can't thank Todd McClure enough for joining us. Make sure you are catching the Snapback with T-Mac on anywhere you can get and listen to podcasts, and of course also on YouTube. Unfortunately, his side team is going to have to get the victory and not his main team, the Falcons. And with that, we say, go Chiefs!